Well, I think the bigger problem I have really with our country is the fact that we only treat symptoms. Sometimes we don't look at root cause of some certain things. Now, you need to sit down and ask yourself, especially the same period last year, which was the height of kidnapping in Nigeria. And kidnappers don't take transfer. They don't take check. They only take cash. And you have a number of people in their thousands who are in the bush that are paying 10 million, 50 million, in some cases 100 million in cash to free their loved ones. And these guys have to look for the naira, whether you like it or not, to free their loved one. So we should know where the cash is going. It's not as if that all these things are moving in market transactions. This is a product of the insecurity and the fragility of the Nigerian state.
This is Souq business landscape. Now, Nigeria has continued to rely heavily on cash withdrawals despite higher automated teller machine charges introduced by Central Bank of Nigeria, with ATM transaction value surging in the first half of 2025. Data from CBN Quarterly Statistics Bulletin shows sustained cash demand across the economy, even amid policy efforts to discourage excessive physical currency usage. ATM withdrawals between January and June 2025 amounted to 6.34 trillion, nearly triple the 12.21 trillion recorded during the same period in 2024. The increase highlights a sharp rise in cash-based transactions despite expanded electronic payment channels and ongoing monetary tightening by regulators. The figure reflects an increase of 24.13 trillion, representing 197.66% year-on-year rise. Okay, dear Doc, looking at our peculiarity right now, should we be telling banks to do more? Or they are just satisfied with the monies they have? Should they be out there getting people to get into the system? Or they should just, okay, let's keep collecting government trillions and be banking government trillions?
Well, I think the bigger problem I have really with our country is the fact that we only treat symptoms. Sometimes we don't look at root cause of some certain things. Now, you need to sit down and ask yourself, especially the same period last year, which was the height of kidnapping in Nigeria. And kidnappers don't take transfer. They don't take check. They only take cash. And you have a number of people in their thousands who are in the bush that are paying 10 million, 50 million, in some cases 100 million, in cash to free their loved ones. And these guys have to look for the naira, whether you like it or not, to free their loved one. So we should know where the cash is going. It's not as if that all these things are moving in market transactions. This is a product of the insecurity and the fragility of the Nigerian state, that we're not able to actually control some of the issues around us. I saw a report yesterday, a doctor that was kidnapped in my own state and was released. 50 million cash was paid. So how do they get the cash? They have to go to the bank to get the cash. So this is the reality. It's not as if there's anything fundamentally changing in the physical environment. It's the fact that insecurity has made demand for cash to increase. And I think it's important that we also put that into perspective when we do analysis of this nature.
Insecurity.
Insecurity, yeah. Insecurity. That's the biggest. CBN can address that. CBN can address that. The only person can address that is the security agencies, who will be able to ensure that this kidnapping stop. And you see, when you see videos of these terrible individuals brandishing cash inside the bush, you understand what that means. So it's a cash economy for them because they don't want to be tracked, they don't want to be traced. So you give them cash in sacks and they take it inside the bush. So that's what they do. So this is a bigger problem that Nigerians really need to deal with if we have to be able to manage the visibility of the cash in circulation.
Okay. Now, Doc has brought up the issue of insecurity and cash transactions. Let's talk about the market in rural areas and cash transactions. We've talked about that several times here. Should we still be having CBN and the banks come up to tell us this, or they should get proactive and find solutions to it?
Excuse me.
Apologies.
CBN is a monitoring agent. They can do policies here and there. But I gave an example of GTB. While every bank in this country required at least 5,000 or 10,000 naira to open an account, GTB targets the students that have no money and introduce zero balance to get them, knowing fully well, okay, these kids are going to graduate in 3-4 years, they are going to be gainfully employed, and that is a potential market. Rather than struggling with the existing market, they created their own market because that is their corporate strategy. So now, other banks can look at the potential of the people in the rural areas and find a way to bank them, because doctor has rightly make a very beautiful submission that I cannot even argue. Insecurity has created a lot of cash in circulation, but a lot of, especially agricultural transaction in the rural areas, is in cash too, because in some of these places there's no GSM network, there's no data network, so there's no way you can do transfer, there's no way they can confirm, so they only believe in their cash. The people that sell cow, an average cow in Nigeria goes for 2 million. You have a Fulani man on their market day, which is like every 5 days, sells 5, 10, 15 cows, all in cash. You have people selling a truck of beans in Binigwari in Kaduna, a truck load of beans, a truck load of rice in cash. So it takes a bank to look at this market, even though we go back to security. It's very, very risky business. Which bank official are you sending to Binigwari to go and get money and bank it from farmers? So we have to come back to security as well. And it takes a bank to think outside of the box to find a way to bank these people. But a lot of transactions are going on in the rural areas. A lot of transactions are going on in billions. There is a documentary about Binigwari in particular, and the reporter spoke to about 8 farmers. They all made money in billions in just 1 year, in 1 season. And most of those money is in cash because they stay there in the bush.
Cash in bedrooms. Okay. Thank you very much. We want to see the banks not just talk in those big boardrooms. We want to see CBN not just publish gazettes and all that. We want to see you get to the Binigwaris, get to the
but it's again to also look at the cultural dimension, especially in the core north, where people are still afraid to put money in commercial bank. I can't forget in 2006 I did a survey for Bank PHB when they were trying to open a Islamic window. And when I wrote that report for Bank PHB, and I told them that even the people, so-called, though Habib was part of that bank, that was the norm, the Northerners really didn't believe that it was Islamic pure banking, because they believe that it was commercial bank, and they don't want to put money in a bank that they don't have control over. Because as Quran expects that if you put money, you should be able to make a decision on where this cash is invested, so that it will not be invested in areas that the religion forbid. That's a big problem. That's a cultural problem or religious problem.
We have 3 banks that do exclusive
Islamic
banking,
yeah.
Lotus, Taj, and Jaiz.
Yeah, but I have not done recent research. We need to go to these people, whether they believe that they're actually Islamic banking. You see, because there are some certain things that people talk about. You see, it looks in the face of the people that, oh, this is Islamic banking. Now, there's a way the Islamic bank is supposed to be structured. These banks are actually looking like a commercial bank. So, do the people believe that these windows are actually an Islamic window? I don't know anybody who has done a recent research to go find out. I did mine, that was way back, and that's some 10 years ago. But we need to go find out from these guys whether they believe that these banks are actually. Now, also looking at the spread of these banks, whether they are within the reach of these people, because these banks you mentioned, I don't know how widespread they are in terms of ability to own branches. Now, the legacy banks could go down to that area, but these are the ones that may not have So Lotus may be operating only in, I don't think that I've seen a Lotus in the whole of my local or senatorial district at all. So they may be only operating within the city centers, and they may not be in the hinterland where people are actually dealing with cash and they don't want to go. But again,
commercial banks are not in the hinterland; they all left.
Yeah. So these are issues. The cost of running the banks also can be quite expensive. To have a branch of a bank in a rural area where at the end of the day, in a month, you may not be able to do more than 4 billion naira transaction, and then you can be thinking about the cost of maintaining that branch alone.
They can have a mobile branch.
Yeah, but you see, there are also people who take cash. Banks are also doing that, who actually use some vehicles, not bullion, to go to areas where there are heavy cash, to go take it from their customer, even in marketplaces. There are collections that also happen in some places. But for me, really, the money that's outside circulation is not for people, is not access issue. I see cultural inhibition, and then the biggest one is the security challenge. And as long as we are not able to fix our security situation, we will still be talking about this volume, because people will still be drawing money. Because if you want your loved one out, and the person says, go and get me cash, you don't have option. You have to look for the cash. So this is a bigger problem. That is where, for me, really, the former CBN governor had opportunity to have rewritten our history.
Which of
when they were doing the coloring of the naira.
Okay, Emefiele.
Yes. And I just had wished that at that point, Nigeria had taken a decision that they were not going to print a 500 naira note or a 1,000 naira note. That the highest denomination be 200 naira at the max.